Now, if you've been inside of the CS investing scene for a while, you're probably pretty familiar with the cycles that appear. We've usually got a peak in some sort of December, and usually we're seeing a lull around June and July, and that's exactly what we're starting to see right here. Today we're going to be breaking down everything you need to know and how you can profit potentially from it. Now, based off everything you're seeing in an overall market trend, you're probably pretty pessimistic about the market right now. It's very possible, and it's actually not too unexpected. This is something that comes on a yearly basis. Usually once we see the player count start to go ahead and fall off from that peak we usually see in May to April, a lot of people get really pessimistic. But if we want to look at it, it's actually making a lot of sense right now. If we want to look, we really haven't been seeing any major updates since we saw in February when we saw a brand new case. Otherwise, we've since then seen Copenhagen release, which was a complete understatement for investing. We've seen a couple decent sized updates towards the end of the month, but we really haven't been seeing any major content to move this game along. But the truth is, it's actually excelled during this period. If we want to look at the player count at the end of 2023 compared to now, we're up significantly, not only in average players, but also in peak players. These are two incredible statistics that the game has going for it right now. Even though we're down very slightly, a couple percentage points in the last 30 days, that's really not too big of an impact overall. SkinSwap is today's sponsor, and they're also sponsoring you with the top link in the description. They're here to cater to all of your CS2 and Rust skins need, as they're the top place for buying on some brand new skins, selling off your old skins, or trading your new CS2 skins for some new ones as well. They've got everything, and transactions are taking under 30 seconds right now. They also offer the most competitive rate out there as a massive 40% deposit bonus if you just top up today, and their selling feature is one of the best. With an instant cash out and many different payout options, there's no reason not to try them out today. Now, it depends on the year, but usually one of the biggest events to go ahead and kick off this down spree is going to be the Steam Summer Sale, which is currently ongoing. Actually, it's coming to an end just as you're watching today's video. It's your last chance to get some of these things, but if we want to talk about this overall, we can usually see a couple big things. We're talking about cases. We've got active duty, cheaper rare cases, and more expensive rare cases. Talking about active duty, usually we see a pretty drastic downfall. This year, not as much, just because a lot of these were already on a pretty strong decreasing trajectory before this. Seems like been a lot of them priced in. Talking about our cheaper rare cases, it's been a very interesting path because a lot of them have stayed relatively stagnant. We have seen a little bit of a decrease, usually maybe 5 to 10%, which is actually a really respectable decrease. I want to say that's completely normal during this time and not something that you should be panicking over. It's actually a little bit less than what I expected to see. I personally was looking at about a 15% expected drop for a lot of these cases, but when we're not seeing a ton of activity in the market overall, this is really expected inside of this area. And honestly, it's really good and healthy to see that these cases are not completely stagnant all the time. Talking about a little bit more of an expensive rare case is going to be your chromas, your gammas, your evolver, your wildfire. Of the cases I talk about being potential investments at a little bit more of an expensive price point that are going to be a little bit more safe, they're seeing exactly what we expect inside of this area. A lot of them actually saw a slight decrease around the middle of June to the end of June, potentially due to the summer sale or some external factors. We're not 100% sure because it's such a small drop. All of them have pretty much recovered to their pre-June price, which is actually perfect inside of this area to see a little bit of fluctuation, especially for these older cases. This is exactly what I want to see, and I'm very satisfied with the current market, except if it was actually going up, but this is still a great second. Talking about our sticker markets right here, first up we've got Stockholm. Stockholm's actually in an interesting position because it really hasn't been affected for the past 2 to 3 weeks. If we want to look at it, we saw a relatively drastic drop at the end of May towards the beginning of June. Now we're really not seeing too much overall. If we want to look at the data right here, we can see that a lot of things were going wrong for Stockholm in the month of June because a lot of these were down significantly in application numbers. Now you might be wondering, how is this possible? This is because of the way things are calculated. Skins come and go off databases all the time. This is calculating using floatDB data, and therefore it should definitely be trusted, but it's not 100% guaranteed, as you can see right here, and therefore that needs to be kept in mind when you're making all investments of where your data is coming from. Looking at Antwerp right here, it's in a very similar situation. If we want to talk about the capsules, I think they're getting to a price point that's very tempting for me personally. I'm not making any investments because I think the overall sticker market is struggling. Talking about the data though, we can see right here, a lot of them were actually decreasing here as well, but not as much as what we saw in Stockholm. If we want to look overall, we're actually seeing a couple of numbers increasing. Those are going to be specifically just a very small amount of them, other than the glitters in the Legends capsule. Those seemed like they were on a pretty strong trajectory. Otherwise, a lot of the hollows really weren't getting applied much. That's not too expected. Usually you're going to be having a cheaper option in either Stockholm or Paris or just nearly any other hollow that's borderless at this point. But I definitely think Antwerp is one that I'm keeping my eye on in the current moment. Finally then, we've got everyone's favorite piece of information that's going to be the Paris application numbers. If we want to talk about the capsules overall, unfortunately Paris is definitely not going anywhere anytime soon. These capsules are sitting at 13-12 cents on the Steam market. Absolutely diabolical numbers. But talking about the data here, a lot of them are still getting applied in relatively small amounts. So let's be completely honest. Look at these application numbers. Looking at the glitter for Nabi, it went from 22,000 to 4,000. Now obviously, if we want to compare it to the past data, we saw a drop of quite significant numbers in the other applications. Therefore, something is definitely going on with floatDB's site, but there's still a very strong decrease we're seeing all across the board here. I definitely think that should be kept in mind if you're talking about Paris as an investment. investment. There's definitely a lot of potential there, super long term, but I think unfortunately these are not going to be going anywhere anytime soon, and therefore that should definitely be considered in your investment decision. Talking about Copenhagen, RMR, or really any other near new investment that you're trying to make inside of the sticker market, I would ask you completely, what is wrong with you? I don't think in the current moment really there's any opportunity inside of this area. We're seeing massive amounts of overinvestment. We're seeing massive amounts of under appreciation for these stickers, under application numbers. I mean, there's really not any positive aspect we can frame these stickers in the current moment, other than potentially Antwerp, which is something that I'm not even touching at this point. I think there's definitely potential, but we just need the sticker market to go ahead and recover, get some interest back into it. It's going to be very interesting to see what happens in the Chinese major that's going to be coming up at the end in December here, but I definitely think at this point there's really no reason for you to be dipping your toes into this area if you don't have an investment already. Now, if you've been nearly anywhere talking about CS2 or seen anything CS2 related in the past month, you probably saw a pretty significant amount of people leaning towards an operation, myself included. We were really hoping that an operation would be coming around sometime soon. Unfortunately, all of those rumors at this point have pretty much been put to rest by Valve's latest update, where they reintroduced a couple brand new maps, and therefore they went ahead and changed up the whole dynamic of how this game was looking, because before that we really hadn't been seeing any major content update wise. We had seen some smaller things. We're still missing a ton of things like Danger Zone, a lot of brand new game modes that were potentially in the works beforehand, but if we want to look at it now, operation pretty much out the window for the short term here. I would say honestly the earliest I could really see something coming up would maybe be around the end of October towards early November, because they'd want it rolled out before the actual major happens, because they're expecting a lot of new Chinese players to come in. Anyways, basically this means one thing, and that's going to be filler skins right now are a no-touch zone for me. I don't think there's anything that's going to be increasing the amount of demand that they're going to be having in the short term here, and because we know the supply on these is constantly growing, therefore the price is probably going to be dropping down, and therefore I would not be something I would specifically be looking at, but it's definitely your opinion. If we're looking at potential updates, the only one I could reasonably say at this point is a possibility is going to be a brand new case, and looking at it, a brand new case might be reasonably in our future. We really haven't seen one in the past 5 months, and we're starting to approach that timeline on Valve's time that it's actually a possibility. Now, if we want to look at the graphs and everything that shows it, we're obviously overdue for a brand new case just based off everything we've seen in the past, but talking about it in 2023 and 2024 terms, we're really looking at maybe 1 to 2 a year, and therefore if you think there's going to be an operation, it's very likely that it could come with that. Otherwise, I think it's very possible that if we see a brand new case that completely rules out an operation, super unrelated, but I think a lot of people are really upset with the current marketplace dynamic now that Buff is gone. It might be Upin that picks it up next, but Float does not seem to be capturing a lot of the market share that they were hoping to be, at least at this point. And what should you be doing right now? In my honest opinion, I think the best thing you could be doing is just watching the market. We're going to be seeing a quick change. Whenever things start to pick up, they're going to be picking up out of nowhere. It's something that we've seen consistently time and time again, and therefore if you're looking to make investments, now might be the time, next week might be the time, but don't wait until things are actually starting to go in their increasing trajectory significantly before you make that investment, because you're going to be having all this time in the next short term here. That's all I got. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great rest of your day.